Hey Lennies and bunny lovers, welcome back to the channel. Lorelai here, and in today's video I wanted to show you how I administer Lennon's fluids here at home. Now I know I made a previous video on how Lennon gets her fluids at the hospital, but over time and with practice I've developed my own style and technique with it that I wanted to share with you, as I think everybody should know how to give their rabbits fluids. And I also wanted to discuss the importance of fluids and why I think this is the number one item every rabbit owner should have in their rabbit's first aid kit. So firstly, Lennon is prescribed currently 40 milliliters of fluids every other day, and she gets this for her kidney disease. Giving her fluids basically gives her kidneys a break, and as you know, the kidneys are what concentrates the urine. And you'll notice that bunnies with kidney disease are often dehydrated, they're drinking a lot of water. Oftentimes, just drinking from a water bowl is not enough to hydrate them. So this is where the fluids really kick in. It's gonna replenish them, it's gonna give their kidneys a break, and it basically helps flush out the toxins in the rabbit's body. I noticed a huge difference upon giving Lennon her fluids. She started to perk up, she started to become a lot more active, and she was just a lot less sluggish than she used to be. So fluids can be life-saving really for any kind of condition in which the rabbit is dehydrated, especially something like GI stasis, which a lot of rabbits suffer from. Or, let's just say there's a natural disaster, you don't have access to water. This is where the fluids are really gonna save your rabbit's life. Now, this is something I'm just learning 10 years into having a rabbit, which is crazy. Like, nobody ever explained this to me. And it's not a drug, it's not toxic. There are really no negative side effects. Now, of course, you can overdo it, and that is why your vet has to prescribe a certain amount to you based on your rabbit's age and weight, etc. Some vets might not prescribe it to you because they'll say, oh, I don't think your rabbit really needs it. But maybe you just want to explain to them that you just want to have it in case of an emergency and see what they say. Now, in terms of my journey with administering fluids to Lennon, it's been complicated. It's been a roller coaster, and anybody who says it's easy is lying to you, because it's not. Unless you're just gifted with being good at medical procedures. But I know for me, I have a little bit of a phobia of needles and blood, not so much on me, but on other people or animals. And I just didn't want to inflict any pain on Lennon. That was my biggest fear of all. Just the thought of poking a needle into her, hurt me, right? And so I really had this internal conflict that I had to deal with, and it was emotional. I would cry, I would be shaking with the needle. I would accidentally prick myself, I would accidentally prick her, I would bleed, she would bleed, and it just took a long time for me to finally get the hang of it and feel comfortable doing it. So please know that you have my empathy if you're in the same position. But furthermore, I just think everybody should learn how to inject fluids into their bunny, kidney disease or not, just in case of some kind of emergency. I also want to make the disclaimer, this should only be done by an adult and somebody who's experienced with rabbits. Please make sure that everything is prescribed, everything is sterile, and that you are following all of your vet's instructions. This video is really just to show you how I do it, and hopefully it serves as a guideline. So let's go ahead and hop right into this. So firstly, this is where I keep all of Lennon's medical supplies now, in this adorable bag. It's actually a makeup bag that I got off Amazon. I couldn't find a container that had all of the compartments I needed for all of Lennon's new supplies. So now I have a space for everything from her syringes to her needles to her fluids, all of which I have labeled as well, and it is travel friendly. Okay, on to how I give Lennon her fluids. So first, I take my syringe out of the sterile and unopened container it comes in, and I attach a new 19 gauge needle to it. This is the needle that we're going to poke into the solution bag to withdraw the fluids. And I just make sure I'm twisting it on very tightly and firmly. Now I'm going to grab the solution, and I personally like to hang it on something because it allows the fluids and air bubbles to run out the end of the needle, and it's also just easier. So here I'm just hanging it over a kitchen cabinet handle. Next, I'm going to poke the syringe into the fluid line, which is just like this little rubber opening at the tip of the bag. And I'm going to pull on the syringe and fill it up with the fluids. I tend to need some force at first, but as I keep pulling, it gets much smoother. And I'm just filling it up a little past the 40 milliliters because I'm going to use that extra fluid to test the temperature. Next, I'm going to swap out the 19 gauge needle that we used to withdraw the fluid for a 19 gauge butterfly catheter. And I'm just going to rest the 19 gauge needle in the packaging because the packaging is sterile. And as you can see, I am now attaching the butterfly catheter to the syringe. Now I'm going to boil some water. This takes about 20 seconds in my electric kettle. There are many methods for warming up the fluids, but this is my preferred method as it was recommended by our vet. So I place the syringe into a mug with the hot water and the catheter attached, and I let it sit for a couple minutes, periodically checking on it to see how it feels. And remember, as long as the cap is on the needle, it is sterile. Once the syringe feels warm enough, I'm going to actually test the water on myself and also push out any air bubbles. Remember, it should be warm, not hot. So here I'm going to tent Lennon's skin right where her shoulder blades end. And you'll notice when you do this, there's like a gap or some hollowness between the shoulder blades. That hollowness is where I want to inject. So if it's hard or bony, you're hitting the wrong spot. You're hitting a bone or a muscle and you don't want that. Next, I'm going to take the cap off the butterfly needle and pinch the wings. And then I just push it right into Lennon's skin. And I know it's attached when it can just sit there without me holding it. Next, I'm going to push down on the syringe against a surface. In this case, I'm just using my leg because it was the closest thing to me, but if you can push it against something harder like a table or a chair, that's even better. You'll notice there's going to be a bit of a fluid bubble at the injection site, but this should go down and get absorbed by the body within 10 to 15 minutes. If it doesn't, please contact your vet. And once all the fluids are gone, I just caress Lennon and pet her, and I give her a treat, and I make sure she's okay. We've been doing this for a while, so Lennon is getting used to it, and I've come to learn it doesn't really hurt her if it's done properly. It just feels like a little poke. Now, every city or country has different regulations about disposing used needles. In Los Angeles, I have to place them in a state-approved sharps container that I actually ordered for free from the county's website, and once it's full, I can drop it off at a distribution site. So then I place the 19 gauge needle back on the syringe, put it away. I have to remember to keep everything sterile and replace the needles often, and if something does become contaminated, I just have to start all over again. So that's it for this video, you guys. I hope it was helpful. Please let me know if you have to do this or if you've had to in the past, and let me know if you have any questions. We'll see you soon. Bye.